This Code Nation volunteer training video goes over the updates to the Foundations, now called Intro to Web Development curriculum for 2019-2020. In this video, volunteer coders will understand the major changes made to the Code Nation Intro to Web Development curriculum. As always, we used feedback from returning volunteers like you to make our curriculum even better. The first major change we made is changing our name. We've changed the Foundations curriculum to Intro to Web Development. Because Foundations was a very vague name, we're using Intro to Web Development to better describe what students are actually learning to school partners, colleges, companies, and volunteers. Going into content changes, we've removed teaching lists, Flexbox columns, and IDs. These were removed in order to make room in our limited time for more essential topics. We've also added explicit lessons on debugging and code cleanliness. Going into JavaScript changes, we've replaced var with let, we've replaced for each with for of loops, added template literals, and removed functions from the Intro to Web Development curriculum. Functions will be introduced later on in our program model so that more thoughtful time can be devoted to it, instead of just sticking it at the very end of the Intro to Web Development course. We've also spent a lot of time trying to increase independent problem solving for students. During guided practice, volunteers will be trained on how to model think-alouds during guided practice and live coding. We will also spend more time explicitly teaching students how to grapple with problems and solve them using their resources instead of immediately asking for help. And our popcode instructions will be less prescriptive in order to give students room to practice their computational thinking and use their skills in various places inside their activities. That means that during independent practice, our popcodes will come in 3 different levels of difficulty. You'll see in the slide below that there will be a link to a mild, medium, and spicy popcode. Each one will be the same activity, but with different levels of starter code and instructions. The mild will have very clear instructions to help struggling students feel successful and have something completed that they can turn in at the end of class. Medium still has some guidance in its starter code and directions, but will require some problem solving from students. And the spicy level, students will be required to break down and solve problems on their own. We suggest that all students start in the medium level, and it's up to program managers, volunteers, and school liaisons to decide which students should be told to click the mild link and which students will be told to click the spicy link. For changes in grading, exit tickets will be created as a multiple choice question in Google Classroom. That means that Google Classroom will automatically grade the question as students answer it. Volunteers can just click in and use this data to guide future instruction without actually having to do the grading. Our project rubrics were redesigned in the middle of last school year, and we will be keeping the changes. This means it includes an independent problem-solving row. The rubrics are objective-driven to determine student mastery of content, and it's important for volunteers to walk students through project rubrics and encourage them to refer to it frequently because they're not as prescriptive, same as the popcode directions. Changes to professional skills is that classes will hold an in-class hackathon midway through the year. Some classes did this year, but not all of them. Students will practice brainstorming, wireframing, collaboration, and presentation during this hackathon. Students will also complete a capstone project at the end of the school year. More details to come on this later. Changes to GitHub is that GitHub will only be introduced during the mid-year unit and revisited at the end of the year. This lets students stay focused on coding at the beginning instead of creating a GitHub account in the first unit. This can also be used to reinvest students as they start exporting more meaningful projects because it will give them the link that they can share with their family and friends. We've also increased culture building activities in our slides. We've added slides to highlight individual student accomplishments at the end of every unit. We've added review days that are optional but include games like Jeopardy and Kahoot. And for after-school classes that have additional time, there are additional team builders, games, and group projects that you can do with your classes. We always value your feedback. So throughout the year, please keep submitting your ideas to our Google form, and we will change our curriculum with the things that you suggest. Thank you.